Hello and welcome to Labour Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week edition of the program, we'll be focusing on several issues that affect workers, especially the implementation of the new national minimum wage. We also have new stories for you. We will be right back.
It was a gathering of industry leaders, employers and government officials in Lagos, all converging to discuss national security, expatriate administration and immigration reforms. One major focus of the conversations was the need for better control of movements in and out of the country, especially in light of current security challenges and increased migration trends.
If you look at what is happening in Far East, in Asia, even in some African countries, you realize issues surrounding homeland security has become very important, especially now that we are having proliferation of different groups calling themselves different names, but all within the context of terrorism and banditry. And it has become very imperative for many countries to take the issues of homeland security very, very important. And our country, irrespective of our challenges and the issues that we have, we know ourselves that things gotten right, Nigeria should be placed among the first 5 or the first 7 countries economically in the world. And that is because of the natural resources and human resources that we have. And ironically, while many of our brothers are jetting out of the country on a daily basis, you have an equally high number of foreigners, friends, and nationals of different countries also trooping into the country. That is the irony of it. And that becomes very important for different countries, even Nigeria, to take more than a cursory look at the issues surrounding the coming in and the going out of its persons.
The meeting also served to sensitize stakeholders on the new expatriate administration framework and the consequences of non-compliance, with the Ministry of Interior confirming that enforcement of the reforms will begin from May the 1st.
We've been working on this for months, if not over a year, looking at the way it's done all over the world, best practice and everything there before coming up. Because as I always say, a good solution is not good enough for Nigeria. Only the best is good enough. That's the truth.
Despite the fact that we advised the government in one of our meetings with them in Abuja, that for smooth transition, all outstanding payments with IPPIS should be cleared. Today, some deductions that were made from staff salaries as third-party deductions, promotions arrears, and other arrears of money due to workers under IPPIS are still not paid as at this meeting. Additionally, there was no adequate training of relevant staff for the migration. For months now, some staff salaries and union dues are not paid on the excuse that if they load the money, it usually fails to drop in the designated.
Hello and welcome to Labour Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week edition of the program, we'll be focusing on several issues that affect workers, especially the implementation of the new national minimum wage. We also have new stories for you. We will be right back.
It was a gathering of industry leaders, employers and government officials in Lagos, all converging to discuss national security, expatriate administration and immigration reforms. One major focus of the conversations was the need for better control of movements in and out of the country, especially in light of current security challenges and increased migration trends.
If you look at what is happening in Far East, in Asia, Even in some African countries, you realize issues surrounding homeland security has become very important, especially now that we are having proliferation of different groups calling themselves different names, but all within the context of terrorism and banditry. And it has become very imperative for many countries to take the issues of homeland security very, very important. And our country, irrespective of our challenges and the issues that we have, we know ourselves that things gotten right, Nigeria should be placed among the first 5 or the first 7 countries economically in the world. And that is because of the natural resources and human resources that we have. And ironically, while many of our brothers are getting out of the country on a daily basis, you have an equally high number of foreigners, friends, and nationals of different countries also trooping into the country. And that is the irony of it. And that becomes very important for different countries, even Nigeria, to take more than a cursory look at the issues surrounding the coming in and the going out of his persons.
The meeting also served to sensitize stakeholders on the new expatriate administration framework and the consequences of non-compliance, with the Ministry of Interior confirming that enforcement of the reforms will begin from May the 1st.
We've been working on this for months, if not over a year, looking at the way it's done all over the world, best practice and everything there before coming up. Because as I always say, a good solution is not good enough for Nigeria. Only the best is good enough. That's the truth. So we have looked at it end to end. So you don't need to go to the bank because we don't want to give you excuse for non-compliance. The e-visa is one that guarantees you visa within 48 hours to Nigeria. The bottlenecks gone. We don't want you to go and lobby anybody to come to Nigeria. We want you to come. We are providing a more convenient way of getting access to Nigeria while making sure that we tighten our security.
Stakeholders agreed on the need for sustained collaboration between the public and private sectors to strengthen homeland security and improve regulatory processes for expatriate management.
It's the first straight group council meeting of NASU in 2025, a gathering to reflect on the state of education, the welfare of non-academic staff, and pressing national issues affecting both the union and the country at large.
Despite the fact that we advised the government in one of our meetings with them in Abuja that for smooth transition, all outstanding payments with IPPIS should be cleared. Today, some deductions that were made from staff salaries as third-party deductions, promotions arrears, and other arrears of money due to workers under IPPIS are still not paid as at this meeting. Additionally, there was no adequate training of relevant staff for the migration. For months now, some staff salaries and union dues are not paid on the excuse that if they load the money, it usually fails to drop in the designated account.
NASU's General Secretary Peters Adeyemi also highlighted perceived discrimination in the payment of earned allowance. According to him, the 50 billion naira earned allowance championed by the union has been selectively disbursed, benefiting only one union among the various academic and non-academic bodies in tertiary institutions.
I think in their desperation not to allow for one union to go on strike, they will not create a situation the way they created during the payment of 4 months salaries to ASU and refusing to pay 2 months to us. Government by its own action or inaction will set the university on industrial crisis. This is a great opportunity for us to appeal to the Minister of Education, whom we have a lot of respect for, and Mr. President, that any attempt to share that 50 billion only to the academics will set the university on unparalleled industrial crisis. To be first warned, it is still within their capability and capacity to make sure that the right thing is done. If it is not done, nobody should call us labor leader and say we are strike mongers. We will shut down the place.
The non-academic staff union further reiterated its position on the delayed renegotiation of the 2009 agreement, a commitment that more than a decade later remains unfulfilled.
Actually, what we have heard from the federal government is uncalled for, because every one of us are all working in the environment of the university, and now we all are buying from the same market. And the agreement reached concerning the N allowance, the 50 billion naira N allowance, was for all the university workers, both the non and the academic staff. But coming to here as it is a questionable development, which we are not certain for now. But be that as it may, if the federal government go as far as paying this money only to the ASU members, there will be chaos on campus. And I want to assure them as well that the university cannot effectively function without the non-academic.
It's not fair, and in as much as that is the case, we will not accept it. And you know, when we say we will not accept it, you know what that means. That means that the school, even the ASU will tell you that without the non-teaching, that they can't function. So automatically, it will mean attracting chaos, that industrial disharmony in the university, which advertently is what this present administration doesn't want. They don't want interruption in the university system or processes, but if they should do it, automatically they are inviting that problem that will create that disharmonious environment. Even the non-teaching, they work even more than these people. I must tell you, a lecturer can come to a class and spend 2 hours and go for the day. But for the non-teacher, you have to be there from 8:30 to 4:30. You must be there. If you're not there, you will be queried. You prepare all these things for them. We are the ones that even admit these students for them. And moreover, it cannot even be possible attempting to pay them. Who will do the payment? We do the payment even. If the money should come to the university today and is to be paid, it's the non-teaching that will pay it.
We've been relying on that memorandum of understanding until recently, when they are saying that ASU they are now making it as an academic allowances, which at today's meeting we have discussed extensively about it, and we have agreed that if the government dare do so, the university entirely will be shut down.
A society where the lions are eating the cat is very dangerous. Yet the government is advocating for peaceful coexistence in the university system. How will that be possible? That will not be possible. A situation whereby you pamper, you favor, you pacify the teaching staff, yet you discriminate against the non-teaching ones. And we are all members of the same society, going into the same markets, denying the non-teaching staff of their own rights and their own privileges. How would they not shout? There will definitely be public outcry from them. A situation whereby you are making an agreement with non-teaching staff, academic staff, promising them that you are going to pay their own entitlement from the same 2009 agreements they had with you, yet you deny the non-teaching staff of their own entitlement, implementation of the same agreement of 2009. My own appeal to the government is that they should be fair, they should be just to all concerned within the university system. All the stakeholders should be treated equally.
On the Profile Interview segment this week, I'll be speaking with the General Secretary of NASU, who also doubles as the Vice President of Public Service International. It tells me the several challenges workers in the tertiary institutions are faced with, especially the non-academic staff. He also said it's expedient for the governors to respect the rule of law and implement the new national minimum wage. It's good to have you on the program.
My pleasure.
It's been a while since we had a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not up to 4 months though.
Yes.
A lot has been happening in the world of work. A lot of agitations, I must say. But first, let's start with the regular meeting. Why is it important for your members to gather together to have a trade group meeting at this point in time?
Yeah, because in the last couple of months after our conference, there has been a lot of build-up in terms of what affects positively the welfare and the well-being of an average worker in our country, and particularly those who are members of NASU in the university and inter-university centers. We have a system where from time to time we hold meetings to conduct evaluation of what has been going on and where we think things have not worked out favorably in favor of our members, and where we think we needed to even do more to ensure our own positive contribution to the development of the institutions where we operate. So we do this regularly to take stock of what has happened and then to identify areas of shortcomings and prepare for the future.
Okay, from my observation when you were speaking during the conference, there seems to be a war against unionism. And we've been seeing the pattern of you being allowed to join the union, but statutorily you're not allowed to operate. How would you react?
Clearly an arbitrary use of powers by a few elements in charge. If the processes for employing even chief executive has to go through the rules, then it's expected that anybody who is a chief executive, whether in a tertiary institution, will also acquaint his or herself with some of the provisions in the relevant labor laws of our country, because there is no chief executive that can succeed in running an organization without the workers. So henceforth, those who are involved in recruitment of whether you are rector, you are provost, you are vice chancellors, and you are whatever, should also put into consideration the need for them to ensuring that those human beings who are going to be considered are people who know a little bit about the trade union laws of our country. Because without the workers, no institution can run. So it's an arbitrary use of power. You are a chief executive, you go there, workers are working. The government by law had recognized the trade union to function. Not only that government recognized the trade unions to function, it is also part of the provisions in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that granted freedom of association to workers. And so when workers belong to the trade union, then because they ask for their right, you as a chief executive acting ignorantly will say you stop check-off dues. That's clearly unacceptable. And it's also an infringement on even the ILO Convention on Freedom of Association, which Nigeria has ratified. So it's clearly unfortunate that we have this type of situation. And I think I will appeal to the federal government to make sure that they sensitize these heads of institutions so that they don't act as if they are emperors.
Funding of education is very important across the world, especially for a developing nation like ours. What you take as the General Secretary of NASU? Would you say that the funds available to run the institution is sufficient?
It's not sufficient, but honestly I like to, I'm a critic, but I like to commend this government. This government has moved a bit from other governments when it comes to what they allocate to education. Last year it was a meager 6 point something. This year it has moved to 9 point something. So which means that if there is the will, there will be a way. If the government is determined to fund education, they can find the resources. I want to commend this government at the level of the federal and Mr. President that they have moved away from that peanut. But we have not reached where we are going. We have not reached where we are going. We expect that more resources should be allocated to our education so that some of the crises that are driven by insufficient funding can be eliminated. Decayed infrastructure can be eliminated. Motivation and welfare of staff can be improved upon. So more money needs to come to education so that we can have seamless academic calendar, we can have industrial peace, workers can be adequately motivated, and then we can mitigate the crisis of brain drain.
End allowance is still a big conversation for the non-academic staff. Can you tell us what's the update?
Well, we have the end allowance naturally is paid both to the academics and the non-teaching staff. And that's why we have what we call end academic allowance and end allowance. End academics for the academics and end allowance is for the non-teaching. Over a period of time when we started this payment in 2013, it was fairly done because it was computed by the various bursaries of the institutions. And when these monies were released, it was also the bursary that, paid the money, allocates to each staff what is due to them. But we started having problem when the Ministry of Education took charge of the disbursement of the amount allocated for end allowances. And at that point, they do the sharing in the Ministry of Education. They will give the academics 60 or 70% of the total money and cede only 20 or 30% to the non-teaching staff. And that has created a lot of problems. So in 2022, when we were on that long strike, everybody in the university embarked on that strike. So SANU and NASU had a 4-month strike, and we were invited to a meeting by the Minister of Education, since they said that we should go to our employers. Naturally, it used to be the Ministry of Labour that does this reconciliation. So we met with the then Minister of Education, Malam Adamu, and after a long discussion, we had an MOU. And in that MOU of August 2022, it was agreed that the government is committed to releasing 50 billion as end allowances for both the academics and the non-academic, and that its disbursement will be in line with how the money was disbursed in 2013 when it first came. So it will not be something that the Ministry of Education officials will be involved in. It will be done by the bursaries of the institutions. So since that 2022, nothing has happened until recently, when we started hearing when this Yayale committee on renegotiation was constituted, and we started seeing different type of letters flying around. The whole place, Salaries, Income and Wages Commission issued their own, and then they started sending letters to the universities, clearly in conflict with the MOU that we signed in 2022. And just about a few days ago, we saw another letter addressed to the ASU president, saying that the 50 billion is expected to arrive in 1 week's time, and that when the money arrives, that they called it end academic allowance. So they have tactically, they said they held a stakeholder meetings in the Federal Ministry of Education. The first question we ask is that stakeholder in the university, that excludes members of NASU, members of SANU, and members of NAT cannot be called a stakeholders meeting. Government has a responsibility to inherit both assets and liability. So whatever they have been owing us has to be accommodated in line with what is in the MOU. So we have reviewed the matter and we have come to a conclusion that there is a deliberate attempt to shortchange our members. If the 50 billion comes and it is disbursed only and solely for the academics, our members have agreed that they will withdraw their services. We are not unmindful of the fact that this government is making effort to stop the academics from embarking on strike. They have done that now for close to 2 years and they have succeeded. But from their action, it seems as if they are being pressured to satisfy one group against the other. And our position is clear. If you are in a hurry not to allow one group to go on strike, you are in a hurry to propel by your action the others to go on strike. The peace, the industrial peace you are anxiously working towards achieve in the system will not materialize.
On a final note, according to the data released recently, we are aware that more than 20 states of the Federation are yet to implement the new national minimum wage. How would you react to this?
It's very unfortunate. We have a situation where those who are supposed to respect the law of the land have always acted unlawfully. That's very unfortunate. We have a minimum wage law passed by the National Assembly, assented to by Mr. President. So one would have expected that all the governors, without any pressure at all, because you know that this singular policy of the Tinubu